Congratulations on your purchase of the ThermaCor 1200, the world's most advanced rapid infuser. It is the most capable available in ease of setup and use, warming capability, air removal capability, reduced risk of hypervolemia and precision, patient transport capability, and advanced patient safety features. Let's walk through an overview of the system and then we'll jump in to how it runs and how easy it is to set up and run the unit. First of all, the unit is powered on here. Power button is depressed for approximately a second and the unit will come on. Here you see I've already attached the unit to the pole. We've got a rubber mat that prevents and reduces the incidence of slipping on the pole and is simply clamped onto the pole with this IV pole clamp. Here we've got a component guard which ships with every unit. This should always be on the unit if the unit is not being run. So we'll set this in a place where we have easy access to it, and when a cassette comes off, the component guard goes right onto the unit. Now let's jump into the setup and actual running of the unit. Okay, now let's walk through the setup and running of the unit. An experienced operator can set up the ThermaCor from the time they put on the cassette till the time it's primed and ready to run in approximately 60 seconds. Very simple to do, and that is based on the fact that we use a one latch disposable cassette where all the tubing is pre-threaded. Here, I'm going to unlatch the component guard. I do that by using the latch located on the top of the unit. Here I've moved it all the way forward into the unload position, and there are graphics on top of the latch that indicate the unload position, which is all the way forward, the load position, in which the latch is directed directly toward the operator, and the lock position where the latch is all the way to the rear. Here I'm going to set the component guard aside and it'll go back on the unit as soon as the one-piece disposable cassette is removed. Here I've taken a cassette, you can see the color-coded caps on top with just 3 simple connections, and I'm going to load it onto the unit. I'm going to place the latch into the load position so it's directly facing the operator. I'll place the cassette on the load bar located at the bottom of the unit at a 45-degree or greater angle to ensure it's caught, and then I'll press the cassette directly into the unit. At this point, it's connected to the unit, and you can test that by pulling it and giving pressure away from the unit. There it's connected. Here, I'm going to go ahead and put one hand on the far side of the unit and close the latch into the lock position. At this point, I'm going to open the roller pump door, and I'm going to push the roller tubing all the way to the back. This is an important step. You want it to be pushed all the way to the back to reduce the incidence that the tubing would not be properly centered. So I'm going to push that all the way to the back, ensure it's all the way back, close the pump door, and then it's going to self-center. Now that the cassette's installed, let's continue this setup and connect the triple spike or the 3-spike inflow set and the patient line. We'll start with the triple spike. You can see that all the connections are color coded. In this case, there's a blue cap and a yellow cap for the inflow line and the return line. So I'm going to go ahead and connect blue to blue, and these connectors are also color coded underneath the caps. They're both clear, and then I'll remove the 2 yellow caps and connect the return line. Now the triple spike is set up and ready to spike the bags. We'll hold on spiking bags until we're ready to prime. Now I'm going to connect the patient line. This is a 6-foot patient line. We also have a dual patient line as an option. I'll remove the red cap, remove this color-coded red cap, and you'll see that these connectors are both colored white. There's no way to hook up these connectors wrong. They're all unique connections, but we color-coded to make it very simple for you. Now we're going to start the priming process. Now our triple spike and our patient line are connected and we're ready to go through the prime sequence. The triple spike as you see, I've got oriented vertically, and that's how it should be set up. At the top is a hydrophobic filter, and located inside is a 263 micron fluid filter. Now that I've got that set up, I've got it connected to a fluid source. I'm going to go ahead and unclamp the fluid source, and I'm going to watch the fluid as it starts to fill the triple spike. Once I get above the halfway point, but at about the 2/3 before you get completely full, you're going to hit the prime button, and it's going to auto prime the system. This completely primes the cassette. It'll prime and push fluid into the patient line, as you can see here, leaving just a short manual prime sequence that we can do by depressing the prime button, holding it, and visually inspecting to ensure that all the air has been removed from the patient line. At this point, the system is completely primed and ready to run. The system is completely set up, primed, and ready to go. There are 3 modes of operation on the system. There's the slow mode, which is mLs per hour, the rapid mode, which is mLs per minute, and 4 bolus options, which deliver a specific amount over a time period that you designate. The default is the slow, or the mLs per hour, and the default rate on that is 120, as you can see indicated here. To start infusing, you would just hit the start button, and at that point you're infusing at 120 mLs per hour. To shift to the rapid mode, you would hit the rapid button, and like you do all commands, you confirm that by hitting the start button. Then it's going to start delivering it in the rapid mode. The default is 500 mLs per hour, and that's why you can see the 500 indicated here in the selected and 500 indicated here in the actual. If I wanted to go back to the slow mode, I would hit the slow, and I would hit the start to confirm that. Under both the slow and the rapid, the options are from 10 mLs, either hour per minute, depending on the mode, up to 1200 mLs per hour or minute. So from very, very slow to very fast. Now, bolus capability. We've got 4 options for boluses. We've got a 100, a 250, a 500, and a 1000 ml. The default rate on those are 500 mLs per minute. So if I were to select 100 ml bolus, I'm going to confirm that. I hit the button, I confirm that by hitting start. This system is going to deliver the bolus, the 100 mLs, and then it's going to go right back to the rate that it was running before. In this case, the system was paused, so it's going to pause. Here I'm going to start the system again by hitting rapid and start. Now I'm delivering at the rapid rate. To toggle, to change the flow rate, you would use these toggle buttons to either toggle down, now I'm at 450, 440, or to toggle up, and I'll go all the way up to 1200. At this point, the system is delivering 1200 mLs per minute. I'm going to change it back to the slow. Goes right back to the rate that you had set on the slow at 120 mLs per minute. Now the system is set up and we've been infusing. Let's walk through some of the details of what the display is telling you and the buttonology on the screen. Now let's discuss the ThermaCor display. The ThermaCor display provides all of the relevant information to the user without the need to toggle between screens. We'll look at each individual line. Beginning with the top line is the mode indicated at the top left. Here it indicates slow. It could also say rapid, recirculation, or bolus depending on the mode that has been selected. Just to the right of that is the heat indication located here. Here it indicates that the heat is on. It could either indicate on or off. And below that on line number 2 is the temperature. Here 32 degrees Celsius is displayed. The pump is not running and it's providing the actual temperature of the fluid as it leaves the cassette as to provide the most accurate temperature. Just below that is the pressure reading. Here indicated at 63 millimeters of mercury. Just below that is the information line. Here it indicates select rate and start. Typically it will provide the information needed to get the unit back up and running if it has been paused or interrupted in any way. And below that is the volume line. Total infused equals 1037 milliliters, and it will always display the total amount that has been infused. Just below that is the flow indication line. The flow indication line stretches across the screen horizontally, and a hash mark moves across the line based on how fast the flow rate has been set. This display gives the user a visual indication the pump is running, which is especially useful at low flow rates. Just below that is the alarm message line. Here I've triggered an alarm by opening the pump door, and it's giving us the corrective action. In this case, close pump door. Typically those alarms will be indicated in plain text to provide the most easy remedy to correct the situation. Now let's talk about the buttons. All the functions are available to the operator at one time, and each button is clearly displayed, eliminating the need to toggle between multiple screens for different functions. Let's start at the bottom and go through each one. Located here at the bottom right corner of the unit is the power button. It's required to hold that button for 1 second, and that eliminates the possibility of inadvertently turning the unit on or off. Just above that is the prime button, which serves two prime functions. Number one, an auto prime, which you'll typically use in the initial priming of the cassette, which will prime the entire cassette and just into the patient line. Following that, you will use a manual prime, in which you depress the button, hold it, and visually inspect until all the air is out of the patient line. It can also be used for additional priming as needed during the case or during add fluid operations. Just above that is the recirculation button. When that button is depressed and you confirm the command with the start button, like you do all commands, the system will recirculate through the reservoir for approximately 5 minutes at a speed of 300 milliliters per minute. This prevents the separation of fluid and can also be used to raise the temperature of the inflow fluid to a specific temperature. Just above that is the stop button. The stop button stops whatever function may be indicated at the time it's depressed. And above that is the start button, which conversely would be pressed to restart the unit. It also confirms all commands. As an example, if you've selected slow or the ml per hour rate, you would then hit the start button to actually start the unit. Just to the left of the start button are the 4 bolus buttons. Those buttons are pressed to deliver a specific amount, 100 milliliters, 250 milliliters, 500 milliliters, or 1000 milliliters. Once you indicate a bolus button, as I'm doing here, you again confirm that by hitting the start. Here I'm going to stop that and restart into the slow mode. Again, I confirm it by depressing the start button as I do for all commands. That takes us over to the other function buttons, the slow, which we just demonstrated, and above that is rapid. Rapid is indicated in mLs per minute. Just to the right of that are the actual LCD screens, which give you the selected flow rate, indicated here, currently at 120 mLs per hour. And the actual flow rate just above that, again, that is also indicating 120 mLs per hour. The actual flow rate may deviate from the selected flow rate based on the pressure selected and the pressure and catheter size currently being used. Just to the right of those LCD screens are the toggle up and down buttons. If you want to toggle the speed up or down in either the rapid or slow mode, this allows you to raise the delivery rate or lower the delivery rate in 10 ml increments. Here we've gone down to 150. Again, the range is from 10 mLs per hour up to 1200 mLs per minute. Just above that is our pressure button. The pressure, this allows us to toggle between our 100 millimeter of mercury setting and our 300 millimeter of mercury setting. Those pressure caps are designed to reduce the opportunity for catheter site damage. So in essence, the pump will stay below that pressure cap by reducing the flow rate to ensure safety for the patient and lower the incidence of catheter site damage or a blown catheter site. Just to the right of that is the heat button, which allows you to toggle the heat function on or off. And just to the right of that is the alarm mute button. If you've got an alarm, an audible alarm, you can recognize that you understand there's an audible alarm by pressing the alarm mute button, which will mute the alarm for a short period of time, and then it will re-enable the alarm to come back on after a 2-minute period of time. And that's the buttons and the basic functionality of the unit. The next option is our large capacity rigid reservoir. As you can see, it's got a very large surface area filter, and like all our disposables, it is approved for up to 100 liters of blood, so a very robust platform. It's also got a defoamer in the back, and it gives you 5 spikes, so a lot of options to have a lot of capacity of fluid connected to the system at one time. With our recirculation function, you can also recirculate and keep the fluid mixed as you're using this unit. You'll notice the connections here, just like the triple spike, are unique connections, and they're all color coded. So there is a inflow line and a return line where you'll recirculate and also purge air so you don't lose any of the fluid. The rigid reservoir is a very popular option when you're using larger amounts of fluid, and particularly in longer cases. Now let's talk about troubleshooting. The great thing is the ThermaCor 1200 is the easiest to use and the most intuitive infuser on the market. That makes it very easy to recover from any challenges that may arise during a case. But let's talk about some potential areas that you may have to deal with during the infusion. Number 1, air in the patient line. Our system uses a unique active air removal technology that is the most efficient on the market. And it works very effectively at very high flow rates and at low flow rates. That greatly minimizes the chance that you'll ever have air into the patient line from the cassette. We also have 4 air sensors, so we've got a lot of redundancy built in to ensure patient safety. However, due to the nature of warm fluids on any system, you may have some outgassing in the patient line. What this does, and how you'll see that, is you'll see that small bubbles start to collect. That's due to the nature of having warm fluids in the patient line itself. We made it easy to remove those. We include a swabbable port on every patient line that allows you to tap the small bubbles as they collect into larger bubbles toward the swabbable port and simply remove them with a syringe. The next area we'd like to talk about is patient line blocked errors. Now with the system, we've got the most advanced pressure control system available with multiple pressure sensors that are constantly monitoring pressure in the patient line and reducing flow rate to stay under your designated pressure cap. With that, though, there are some factors that may cause a patient line blocked error if you're not cognizant of them. Although you can use the system with any size catheter, it's more susceptible with smaller catheters. That is because they're much more easily blocked due to being falling against the side of the vein. Also, it's more challenging with obese patients, so you have to ensure that your catheter is well positioned in order to get an effective flow rate and not to have that patient line blocked error. The first thing you want to look at when you do get that type of error is your catheter positioning. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the tubing and the placement of tubing in the door. As you could see, and as we talked about, our system is very easy to set up and can be set up very quickly. But one thing you want to be aware of is that the tubing in the roller pump door is pushed completely in as you're doing your setup. That minimizes the chance that the tubing could become nicked and cause a leak during the case. Typically, if you do see a leak during the case, it's a rare occurrence, but it's usually due to that roller pump tubing being nicked as you put on the cassette. So something to be cognizant of as you're setting up the equipment. The next thing is the warming capability of the unit. Our system warms effectively at all flow rates. However, during a long case, you may see the temperature drop. That's due to the nature of the fluid sitting in front of the temperature sensor for long periods of time as you're very slowly infusing. Our system offers the most accurate temperature reading on the market because we give you the temperature reading as the fluid is exiting the cassette. So that's giving you the most accurate reading, but it's also going to be the most effective affected by drops in the patient line as the fluid sits there for long periods of time. And you'll see your temperature will rise up to that target as you're bolusing and running at normal to high flow rates, but it will drop at those very low flow rates. The next thing I'd like to talk about is preventing spills with the unit and preventing damage to the unit during spills. The next thing I'd like to talk about is preventing spills that would potentially damage the unit. One thing we've done to help you with that is we provided a ThermaCor 1200 drape, which could be used during the running of the unit. It's very easy to apply and protects the entire top of the unit. While the unit is durable, it's always best to keep spills and to keep fluid ingress into the unit to a minimum. Congratulations again on your purchase of the ThermaCor 1200, the most advanced rapid infuser available in the healthcare market today. It leads in capability for ease of use, warming capability, ability to remove air, reduce risk of hypervolemia and precision, the ability to get the unit back up and operating quickly, a pressure control system that operates and allows for the use of any size catheter, and many other advanced features. A couple of things that will help you in the running of the unit are, number one, the quick reference guide, which will typically be attached to the unit by our customers and will hang just below the IV pole clamp. That gives you a lot of quick reference information to answer any questions on the operating of the pump. We also ship each unit with a thorough operator's manual, which gives you detailed information on the operation, capability, and contraindications for the unit. We also promise the best on-site sales support in the industry today. That's our commitment, and we have a very thorough staff here that will help you with any issues if you decide to call in, and we'd love to hear from you.